You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. Crashing through the lies and disinformation, it's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
In the saddle again, Sunday, the 26th day of April 2015. I'm your host, Alex Jones. We'll be here for 2 hours, as we are every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'll be back, Lord willing, tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, for the 3-hour daily broadcast. There's also InfoWars Nightly News, 7 o'clock Central, weeknights, InfoWarsNews.com. Wow. I say this at the beginning of almost every broadcast now, but this is really a heavy news day. It's so important. Everything we've got here in front of us and the connection points, how all this ties together is just over the top. Protesters vow to shut down Baltimore over Freddie Gray killing. You mean they vow to attack white people and folks in restaurants over a questionable police activity? You mean they vow to make it racial, even though Baltimore, if to a great extent, is basically black run, just like Chicago to many extents? This is done because of the racial politics, the Democratic Party. There are problems with the police. There are issues with the police being militarized, like Marine Corps. The military is designed to kill people and break things. So if you militarize police, they're going to use excessive force more often. And you're going to have some departments that are out of control. But why is it constantly Democratic Party-run cities like Chicago and Baltimore and New York City and D.C., where you see some of the most egregious black cop on black violence, but that never becomes a big news issue? The system wants us at each other's throats, period. And randomly shooting a cop in the head because a white cop shoots a black guy, or going in restaurants and attacking white people because they're white, does not make a protest. What it makes is racial politics, divide and conquer, social manipulation on a grand scale. It's race-based and economic-based class warfare. And it is the strategy of the New World Order, not just here, but worldwide. I mean, if it's somewhere in Latin America, they'll play off Christian versus Catholic, Protestant versus Catholic. Or if it's in Africa, it'll be Christians versus Muslims or Christians versus animists. They just need a social point through anthropology and sociology to manipulate, and that's what's done. It's truly sickening. We're going to break that down coming up today. Rand Paul, tired of GOP retreating on abortion. Shock video, Ukrainian neo-Nazis nail rebel fighter to cross, burn him alive. We're going to air and play the video and audio of this. Looks like a real execution to me. This is the type of stuff that goes on at the hands of the Muslim Brotherhood and ISIS and Al-Qaeda, all the same group by different names, in the Middle East, financed by our government. When Anderson Cooper's up there praising the Arab Spring and the rest of it, but this is by neo-Nazis that are openly being funded by NATO and our government in a proxy war against the Russians. And I don't care how bad you can claim the Russians are. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not Ukrainian. They're just using old divisions to get a fight going and are offensively starting a war with the Russians and are engaged in all sorts of incredible atrocities. And again, CNN calls them freedom fighters when they're throwing Molotov cocktails on police. You do that here, they're going to call you a terrorist. And I'm not endorsing doing that here either. The point is they're endorsing it there when they wouldn't endorse it here. Of course, that was in the overthrow of the government. Now they say it's terrorism to throw Molotov cocktails at the police. But when they were overthrowing the government that was elected to put an unelected government in, then it was okay. NASA plans to use spy telescopes in dark energy mission. Well, thank God they're using them for something scientific instead of spying. Now we know why the bees are dying. Huge developments on that front. It's all coming up. Why is JP Morgan hoarding silver? Stay with us.
Joe Biggs here with Infowars.com with a Jade Helm 1.5 update. This is a psyop to condition people into seeing military up and down the streets. Special operations soldiers will be dressed in civilian attire, blending in, doing what they call suspicious activity. The people of Bastrop County in Texas, right outside of Austin, are not happy about it. These architects of SOCOM who do this Jade Helm 1.5 exercise will be coming to Bastrop to speak on Monday, April 27th at the Commissioner Court meeting on 804 Pecan Street, second floor. The meeting starts at 9 a.m. It is open to the public. I want to encourage each and every one of you patriots, Americans who actually give a damn about this country, to get off your butt, get off your couch, put the keys in the ignition. This is something that I want to see people show up to in mass numbers. I'm sick and tired of this stuff, and I hope that some of you people out there are sick and tired too, and will show up at 9 a.m. at the County Commissioner's Courtroom in Bastrop.
Waging war on corruption. It's Alex Jones.
It's the time of the season when love runs high.
Let's be clear. Private, corporate, anti-free market forces are establishing planetary, unelected government worldwide right now. And they are using cultural differences, religious, racial, economic, to play people off against each other. Male against female, old against young, north against south, east against west. Classic divide and conquer. And while we're all busy fighting with each other, a new system is being established, and it's an anti-human, anti-freedom, anti-free will system. InfoWars, and everything we do on this radio broadcast, the TV nightly news, the documentary films, the news websites, everything we do is simply about getting people to look at their surroundings, look at their environment, and to try to get the general population involved in imagining their own destiny and deciding to want to be players in their own lives and not just be marionettes on a string like so many puppets. And to not just repeat the talking points of the controlled left-right paradigm like a cheap ventriloquist doll. Let me just give you the stacks here. There's a whole bunch of them today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 stacks of news. Nice round number today. Let me just give you the headlines here. So you get some of the dots we're following, some of the balls in the air that we're following. I'm not going to start with the most important story because I can't figure out which one that is. It's why I get kind of dumbfounded or shell-shocked or thunderstruck, sometimes awe-inspired, marveled when I come in here because there's so much. Shock video, Ukrainian neo-Nazis nail rebel fighter to cross, burn him alive. Media blackout. Italian courts rule vaccines cause autism. GlaxoSmithKline memo is released in court where they admitted over a decade ago that they knew full well their vaccine was causing autoimmune responses in the brain and in the gut and causing brain damage. That reports on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Continuing. Paul, tired of GOP retreating on abortion. If you watch mainstream media, you would think that he was pro-abortion. That's the type of deception they're involved in. He says he's going to champion abortion and make it a key issue. Good. That's why I'm supporting him. CBP contingency plan includes $134 million plus for a future influx of illegal immigrant youths. But don't worry, that's money to process them and make them legal. National debt soars over $18 trillion. But don't worry, parents angered over children as young as 3 told to sign contract promising not to use transphobic language at nursery. because you know they're all homophobic at age 3. They have to be basically indoctrinated into it. This is what we're dealing with. While all of our basic rights are stripped, we've got to put in the transgender bathrooms. Speaking of that, California citizens seek referendum to block transgender public bathroom use. And from both angles, fighting it and promoting it is just wild. Because all hell's breaking loose. The globalists are preparing for planetary war, depression, you name it, and they've got us all over the Western world fighting over men that want to take female hormones. I mean, who cares? From both sides. Quit force-feeding it to 3-year-olds. It's pedophilia. I don't care what sexual preference it is. None of it. And people fighting it, I get why you're fighting it, but don't you understand? It's a lost battle. You're not going to just fight and take back the schools, folks. You got to admit the whole thing's been taken over, and it's social engineering. Look at this. Back on the subject of what's happening, state says bankers should pay $135,000 for refusing to bake for same-sex wedding. Bakers should pay $135,000 for their own free will wish to associate with who they want to. So this is the type of police actions going on in America with taxpayer-funded lawyers and lawsuits doing that. Germany prepares for Plan B, says Greece would need not only a third bailout, but a fourth, a fifth, or even more. See, we're all signed on to 2.2 quadrillion global fiat derivative dollars that aren't even our debts. It's impossible to ever pay back. And they're saying when you raise the debt limit, it doesn't raise the debt limit. Of course it does. We're being maneuvered towards total collapse by design, in their own words, Cloward and Piven, the sociological battle plan. And we're too busy fining people $135,000 because they wouldn't bake a cake for a gay wedding. Just where are our priorities? Now, that's just part of one stack. I'm going to stop right there at that part of that stack because I didn't get halfway through it. 200, let me get to that in a moment. 2,000 times normal radiation found in Tokyo playground. Officials deny any link to Fukushima. That's like denying any link to the temperature on the surface of the Earth to the sun. The UN did that 5 years ago in an official vote because all these scientists wrote them a letter saying it's the sun driving climate, so they just had a vote saying that the sun doesn't affect climate. Well, that's like saying that Fukushima doesn't cause the 2,000-plus normal radiation found in a Tokyo playground. Officials deny any link to Fukushima. But it even came out in the French news agency and Reuters 3 weeks ago that there's new leaks at Fukushima, bigger than before, with 5 of the 6 wrecked, exploded, burbling cauldrons of radioactive decay that make Chernobyl look like a small incident in comparison. People say, what's the point of all this? I'm just here telling you what's going on. Why would the elite not even care about this? They basically even stop trying to contain it now, and they just say, nothing to worry about, go back to sleep. The common sense survival instinct has been removed. That's just another article. Oh, but don't worry, they're not just removing common sense, they're removing due process. I don't care what you think of the surviving Zohar Zarnev and his brother Tamerlan that they executed. The point is that official story is as phony as a $3 bill. He pled not guilty and said he was a patsy. I've talked to his aunt and mother. They've been death threatened by the U.S. government not to come on this show. I mean, I've been on the phone with them when they're threatening to kill their family, okay? That's why they won't do interviews. They set him up, they lied, all of it, and then his lawyer comes out and says he's really guilty to the jury. He's not allowed to talk, and now this lawyer is sitting there deciding if he'll get death penalty or, you know, life without parole. And the Zarnev relatives arrive in Boston before defense begins case. Regardless of what you think about him, does he deserve a free trial? Does he deserve a fair trial? Because believe me, this type of tyranny will be used against all of us. Simply amazing. A total kangaroo trial in front of everybody. I want to get to this report because it ties into the control grid. Automakers want to outlaw gearheads from working on their own cars, period. Car companies seek copyright restrictions to stop car enthusiast home mechanics. You think you own that car? You don't. And I heard David Knight talking about this Friday, so I looked it up and found other cases. I want to burrow into this, where you go